Imagine sitting at your desk, headphones on, completely absorbed in a game. Hours blur together into days. The outside world fades away, no food, no sleep, just you and the glowing screen. For most gamers, this sounds like a long weekend. But for some, it ends with something much darker. These aren't urban legends or creepypastas. These are real stories, tragic, shocking, and almost unbelievable. Today, we're looking at the worst gamer deaths ever recorded. The 50-hour StarCraft marathon. South Korea is often called the birthplace of esports. For decades, internet cafes, known as PC banks, have been packed with young people playing 4 hours on end. But in August 2005, one man's obsession with StarCraft turned fatal. His name was Lee Seung-seop, a 28-year-old who entered a cafe in the city of Daegu. He sat down at a computer, ordered a soda, and started playing. Lee played for nearly 50 hours straight, stopping only briefly for bathroom breaks or to take tiny naps at his keyboard. Witnesses later said he barely ate anything, relying on drinks to keep him awake. As the hours dragged on, his body began to shut down. On the third day, his hands reportedly shook as he tried to control the mouse. Then, suddenly, he collapsed. Staff rushed to help, but it was too late. He had suffered heart failure brought on by exhaustion and dehydration. What makes this story even more chilling is that Lee had already lost his job because of gaming addiction. His family warned him. His friends noticed his decline, but he still couldn't stop. StarCraft had consumed his life, and ultimately, his death made international headlines, serving as one of the first major warnings about the dangers of marathon gaming sessions. The Diablo III tragedy. In 2012, a new chapter in online gaming had just begun. Diablo III had been released, and players around the world were diving into its dark, dungeon-crawling universe. One of them was an 18-year-old Taiwanese gamer. Wanting to play without distractions, he rented a private room in an internet cafe. It seemed like the perfect setup, a personal space, endless time, and a brand new game. For nearly 40 hours, he stayed inside that room. He didn't leave for meals, didn't step outside for fresh air. The only sign of life was the constant clicking of his mouse and the glowing screen in the dark room. When an employee eventually entered, they found him slumped over the desk. At first, they thought he was just sleeping after a long session, but when they shook him, he didn't move. The gamer was already dead. What's perhaps the most disturbing part of this story is what happened afterward. Even as paramedics arrived and his body was carried out, other players in the cafe barely reacted. Some kept playing, eyes locked on their screens, as if nothing had happened. To them, death in an internet cafe wasn't shocking anymore, it was almost routine. The teenager's death became a grim reminder that obsession can turn entertainment into a silent killer. The Xbox obsession of Chris Staniforth. Unlike most stories that come from Asia's gaming cafes, this tragedy happened in the United Kingdom. Chris Staniforth was just 20 years old and loved playing Xbox. He wasn't addicted in the same extreme way others were. He simply enjoyed spending hours immersed in games like Halo. But one day in 2011, after another long gaming session, Chris suddenly collapsed. Doctors revealed the shocking cause: deep vein thrombosis, or DVT. It's a condition most people associate with long-haul flights. When someone sits for too long without moving, blood clots can form in the legs. If one of those clots travels to the lungs, it can be deadly. That's exactly what happened to Chris. His passion for gaming combined with long hours of sitting still triggered a fatal clot that ended his life instantly. Chris's father later spoke out, saying his son's death should serve as a warning to gamers everywhere. He explained that Chris had dreams of working in game design and loved the community, but his life was cut short before it could truly begin. Unlike some stories of hardcore addicts, Chris wasn't trying to play 4 days without stopping. He was just like any ordinary gamer, proving that even casual habits can have deadly consequences if breaks and movement are ignored. Collapse in the cafe. China is home to millions of dedicated gamers, and for many, internet cafes serve as their second home. In one tragic case, a 32-year-old man spent 3 days in a row gaming in such a cafe. He fueled himself only with soda and energy drinks, ignoring food and rest. Staff recalled that he barely spoke, his entire focus fixed on the game in front of him. Finally, after 3 days, he stood up to leave, but he only managed a few steps before collapsing to the floor. Witnesses were horrified, but others in the cafe barely looked up from their screens. Some thought it was just exhaustion, but as staff tried to wake him, it became clear he was already gone. The cause was the same as in so many of these stories: heart failure from exhaustion, dehydration, and extreme stress on the body. 86 hours of World of Warcraft. If there's one game that has pulled millions into endless nights, the virtual world of Azeroth has been a second home for countless players. But for one South Korean gamer, it became the last place he'd ever visit. At just 24 years old, he set out on an extreme gaming session, playing for a shocking 86 hours non-stop. During that time, he ignored his body's desperate signals. He barely ate, didn't drink enough water, and refused to sleep. Friends later said he was determined to push himself, as if surviving in the real world was just another boss fight. But reality doesn't give second chances. After nearly 4 straight days of gaming, he collapsed and died at the keyboard. What makes this story so tragic is how preventable it was. The human body simply cannot survive such conditions. Extreme exhaustion leads to irregular heartbeats, blood clots, and ultimately cardiac arrest. In the game, he had survived countless battles, but in real life, his own body became the enemy and he lost. The couple who neglected their child. The darkest gamer death of all wasn't even the player's own, it was their child's. In 2010, a South Korean couple became obsessed with an online game where players raise and care for a virtual baby. They spent hours every day at internet cafes, feeding and nurturing their digital child, but while they were consumed with the game, their real-life newborn was left neglected at home. The baby was found dead of starvation. Authorities discovered that the parents had been gone for up to 12 hours at a time, caring for the virtual infant, while their real daughter wasted away. When the story became public, it sparked outrage not only across South Korea, but around the world. This was no longer just about gamers harming themselves. It was about addiction destroying innocent lives. The couple was arrested and sentenced, but no punishment could undo the damage. Their story became one of the most infamous cases in gaming history, a chilling reminder that obsession doesn't just claim the lives of players, it can destroy families. These stories are grim, but they're real. From marathon sessions that ended in sudden collapse to neglect that led to unthinkable tragedy, they show just how dangerous unchecked gaming addiction can be. So the next time you load into your favorite game, remember, take breaks, drink water, and move around. No achievement, no rank, no loot is worth your life. Which of these stories shocked you the most? Tell me in the comments below. And if you want to hear more dark and unbelievable real-life stories, make sure to subscribe.